Good morning, everyone. It is a big day today. We are finally crossing something off our, I guess, farm to-do list that's been going on for quite some time in the planning stages. Today, we're actually putting machine to ground, and we are going to be trenching a water line from our house, from our newly refurbished well to our barn. This is the first step of, I'll say, a very large thousands of linear feet of piping we're going to put in. But today we're going to start with that, and we'll see how far else we get. We have two different wells going to two different places, and this ditch witch, which is an RT45, it's like 8,000 pounds of raw muscle, is going to help us dig through this amazing Tennessee soil. I say amazing because it has a lot of rock sometimes, has a lot of clay. It's amazingly hard in places, but I have a feeling this machine, designed for this kind of stuff, is going to help make us, well, less pain in the back. Because if you had to trench 3,500 to 4,000 square feet or linear feet by hand, you'd be hurting. And since I'm a weekend warrior farmer, and I'm gonna just invest in a machine and get it done the right way. So we'll take you along with us. You'll see what we're doing. What kind of piping we're putting in is gonna be kind of a future days project. Today, we're just gonna get as much digging as we can done and get these trenches in the ground. Let's just take a look at the machine. In preparation for this project, we're using marker paint. We're just kind of using a hose to kind of get an idea of the line and the flexibility. We're using PEX pipe, which is semi-flexible. Hi, puppy. And that is kind of going to give us an idea of where the bend is without the kinks, right? Probably not a lot of 90-degree, 180-degree turns in this line. So really, we're just getting some paint down so that as we use this trencher, we're not trying to imagine as we go what that line looks like. Just, you know, a little bit of planning in advance. Orange paint, nice and easy to see. And here we go, we're getting ready to trench. We got one more spot to paint out, and then we'll actually get this machine in the ground. All right, here's my full report. After the first 100 feet, ouch. This thing is awesome, but I'm getting the snot kicked out of me. It's shaky, my back's just jittery. Not for the faint of heart, wouldn't want to do this for a living, but actually really excited about the progress we're making. Cannot imagine doing this by hand. It just wouldn't happen. We'd get about yay feet down and be like, seems about right. Realistically, we need this 2 feet down on the ground so that in the winter our water lines don't freeze. A lot of you may remember last year we had just a freezing cold spell in the winter time. Got down to like 3 degrees, wind chill down in the negatives, and it was kind of pretty wild. All our waters were being frozen, so having the water line buried, not running hoses, gonna be absolutely impeccably awesome. We're gonna love it. We're gonna be excited. It's just getting there. That's kind of a pain. So anyway, that's the midway path or review, and we'll put it on time lapse so you can see the progress and how fast we go. Well, we finished the first path, and we kind of decided we were going to start also the cutting out from the main line to the barn out to our pasture. This is eventually going to have a auto feeder or auto waterer out in the pasture so we can fence the cows away from the pond. And I want to show you something that we found along the way. Since we moved into this farm about a year and a half ago-ish, we have been talking about trying to locate the septic system. Well, I have a big, very thorough cutting machine. I figured it'd probably not be a great plan to go over the suspected area without at first testing it. So fortunately, I didn't just cut. What we did is we went ahead and mapped the most perfect path that we can imagine. I'm just going to show you what that path looks like. We went from our trench, which is nicely done. Look at that beautiful trench. Wonderful. And then that paint is where we said, let's go this way. So we followed that paint. And I decided, let's just test this area to make sure the septic's not there. And sure enough, we found the septic. Now that's a root on top. I used one of these electric. That's the top of our septic tank right there. Hooray! So, chalk one up for thinking ahead.
Alright guys, so David and my dad have been working on this trenching project like all day, and I've been out and about doing things, but that is through the trees there, that is what we call the bone house, because there was a skeleton in there and kids can be very creative. So there's a bone house where there's a second well for this property that we are going to have fixed and be able to supply water access to our animals over here on this half of the property. So trenching has gone from the bone house all the way down to, this is the corner of the sheep pen, which they are getting ready to move. That's why the mower's right here. I'm gonna mow a new fence line for them. But so because the water line needs to go basically up through the sheep pen toward the garden to supply that water. But there's another line that we've cut through here, going all the way that way, and I can hear the machine is still running. So let's go see where David's at. Hey, you've been working all day on that thing. How's your butt?
Butt is good, I gotta say. My back is killing me. This thing is not gentle.
Oh, don't we make a pair? My back's been bugging me today.
Tell you what though, my back would be hurting a lot more if I had used a trencher or a
like a
shovel
walk behind trencher?
well, even a walk behind, yeah.
That would have just rattled your arms
my
out
goodness.
of the socket.
I mean, this thing, you hit rocks like, and the whole time I'm sitting there like this behind it watching. And so like neck, back, shoulders, everything just hurts. Every once in a while I get real creative and I go like this. Oh yeah, and my back just it pops up again. Yeah, no, it's good. Back pasture's awesome. Maybe Man will take you back and show you. Let's see if we can get through the woods. There's like a 50 or 75 foot area of trees. We're trying to cut down some of the suckers so maybe we can get this through rather than have to cut this nice little walking path here.
So close. We don't have a river, otherwise it's over the river and through the woods.
Yes. But I'm really a big fan of this Ditch Witch RT45, I believe. It's doing everything I need it to.
But you don't need to own one, because how often are you gonna need to ditch?
Okay, so there's some wisdom there. Yeah, you don't need to own a trencher. I literally was looking them up online. How much do these cost? If it's gonna cost $300 to rent this for the weekend, that's a lot of money. What would it cost to buy it? Thousands, thousands and thousands of dollars. I think I found an old 1995 used one for like $8,000.
My goodness.
And I'm thinking, okay, spend a few hundred. It might be $300 this weekend, maybe $300 another weekend. It's gonna take a whole lot of weekends of trenching to ever make it to $8,000, and then you got the maintenance and upkeep and everything. So, as far as I'm concerned, there are some tools it's okay to rent or borrow from a friend. This is definitely one of them. Big fan of it, but I don't do enough trenching and pipe laying underground to justify buying my own. that and don't have $8,000 just sitting around.
Right? Why don't you come with me and explain it, what you've done in the back?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave this right here in the shade and let it cool down.
Yeah. Good idea.
So when you come out of that path we were just walking on, you come out to this wide open field, but it's a hill. You can't really see the scale, but come with me and you can see where I started to trench and go kind of up the hill.
Look at that.
Towards the end, this is where it's gonna go into the woods, and up the hill we go. Now, obviously pumping water uphill is gonna be kind of a task. In fact, it's gonna take a pretty heavy pump, which the well that we are rejuvenating on my in-laws' property is, we bumped it up an extra 0.5 horsepower just because we knew we were gonna have to be setting this at quite some distance. So, man, I'm getting out of breath just walking it.
Whew. I feel the burn.
This is also the area that I deer hunt out in. So we're kind of finding an easy balance of where to put the watering system where it doesn't interfere with like the prime deer hunting and also the prime pasturing for the sheep. So I think we found a good spot. Here it is.
Man, am I glad that we have that access road for a side-by-side.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a long walk on foot. Now you may be asking, what do you mean putting the sheep on the back? Aren't the sheep in the front? Yes, the sheep are currently in the front, but we have plans to put our sheep and actually increase our flock and put it in this back pasture here that is, it's been nicknamed the meadow. It's not a meadow.
Not a meadow, it's a bunch of hills.
It's not even remotely a meadow, but.
Can I talk about that for a second?
Okay.
Okay, so when we were buying our property, Amanda's parents realized the property next door was up for sale, and they decided they wanted to buy it. They hadn't been here yet.
No.
Which I think is hilarious because they were looking at aerials and they're like, oh, the front's nice and flat, the back is a beautiful meadow, and I'm like, no it isn't. Like, yeah it is. I'm like, no it isn't. It's very hilly. I mean, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, it's gorgeous. It's definitely not a meadow though.
It is not. They
finally believed me when I walked around with my camera and was going up and down. But it has kept the name meadow forever, and now our sheep get to be pastured in the meadow.
Yep. But basically the meadow is technically a hayfield, but it's a very, very neglected, abused hayfield. So our plan is to, instead of trying to fix it chemically, which is very expensive, we can put sheep back here. They will graze it down, they'll do sheep things, they'll poop all over it. They'll eat all the weeds out of it. Basically, everywhere that we have put the sheep up to this point has come back way better. Every location.
Okay.
And
natural fertilizers.
Oh yeah, and beyond the fertilizers, it is really them eating down those weeds before they have a chance to reseed themselves, and the grass has a chance to grow up because the weeds aren't overshadowing it.
Yeah.
So getting sheep back here on a rotational system. Now it may not be a true rotational system because it's a long way out to go and move them every day, and we have a lot of other things that we're doing on a daily basis.
They don't need to be moved every day.
But if we are able to do large wedges back here and be able to move them maybe on a weekly basis, that's going to be a great system for us to get this back pasture fixed, or sorry, back hayfield.
The meadow,
yes,
if you will.
The meadow. So what we want to do is probably set like one half of it at a time and say, this is the half that we're working on this year. We'll hay the other half, junky as it may be, but we still need that hay to get animals through winter. So we're going to let the sheep rejuvenate one half of the pasture at a time and just
cutting little pie slices out.
Yeah, and be able to just rotate which side they're working on each year.
Which means dead center right here.
Which means that this trenching project is how we're going to have water back here for them, because it is just not practical to have to carry water out here.
Not
even a little bit. So we're going to put a permanent watering station that's going to be right here in the central location. And we're still going back and forth on if we're going to create a mobile shelter, if we're going to make a permanent shelter that goes with the water system. We're still in discussion on that. But the plan is to have sheep back here.
And this central station, whether the opening is pointed that way, that way, that way, or another direction, will always be within the kennel area or the pen area for those sheep. So
right.
This will always be accessible to them.
Right.
But we're just gonna have it open to a different section that is on like movable electric fencing.
Yes.
And with those sheep will come Hercules or whatever sheepdog we have at the moment.
Yes.
So
currently Hercules is the one running with the sheep. Ultimately, I would love to have a teammate for him. He is not yet mature enough to be training another dog under him. So we're just letting him mature before we try and bring in a teammate dog for him.
yeah.
So, but I'm excited. More and more things are like making steps. So
I know. Concepts you talked about at the beginning, dreams you have, like, we should do this. It's all well and good until like you realize a year and a half has gone by and it still hasn't happened, or 5 years or 10 years. And
well, sheep were
so
obviously
have to be intentional about it.
Yeah, sheep were on our list of things that we're gonna get, but they were in the someday panel.
Yeah.
And
then we got some for free.
Well, it just worked out. We ended up getting a flock of sheep. All 8 of our sheep came to us at no cost. Mm-hmm. Whether they were traded for or just given to us, we have 8 sheep that we have them ahead of schedule. So we've been just making it work by moving them around different areas in the front, but we've learned a lot by having those sheep in close proximity. Like, we've just recently had to start worming a couple of them, but learning a lot about how to take care of them while they are close.
You can see them every moment of their life right now. And
it is seriously very helpful, because if they were just thrown back here first thing with no prior knowledge, I feel like we maybe would have had more failures than we've had successes. And we have lost 2 sheep during our learning process. So I think that it's really, really smart for us to have gotten them when we did, how we did. And it's like, yes, we lost those sheep, and it is very tragic. It is a personal loss, but we didn't have to pay for those sheep. We didn't lose the monetary value of paying for sheep. So
that's all part of the learning curve.
It really is.
I think people tend to think having a farm is all happiness, sunshine, and rainbows, because look how pretty it is, the cute animals. Realistically, there are losses, and
yes,
you have to learn from them, and that's the only thing you can do. Speaking of learning, when you do trenching, water lines, the key for areas that freeze is going at least 2 feet down. And so part of all of this was trying to figure out how we can get 2 feet down in very, very hard clay soil.
Yes.
Mixed with rock and shale and all these other things. And
I'm impressed with that thing.
I am so impressed with that trencher. It has made my day. Well, I have a 3-day weekend right now, and I was thinking I'd be doing, I would have been happy to get just the front section done. We've already got more than I expected to truly get done the entire time. And it's, we've only been on the trencher for about 4 hours, which is ridiculous. We have it for 12 and a half hours of rental time. So we're gonna get everything done I think that we need to, God willing, and I am sweating like crazy. I apologize.
We live in the South, David.
We do.
That's where people sweat. That's where people go to sweat.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Hey everybody, Editing Amanda here. I was going through the footage and discovered that we did not actually film a closing for this video, so I'm gonna do that now. The trenching project is an ongoing project. We are very excited about getting some water moved out to these animals, because it would be fantastic to not have hoses stretched across the yard anymore. We're really looking forward to getting this project finished, and we'll be keeping you guys apprised of the progress as we make it. So thank you so much for joining us today. As always, this is your country nerd with a goat herd, saying that you can grow where you're planted.